My girlfriend's friends encourage cheating and lie to their partners. Now I've seen a picture that makes me wonder if she's been doing the same behind my back. Has anyone noticed a connection between their significant other's friends cheating on their partners before discovering that their own significant other was cheating? I'm essentially asking if the cliché "you are who you hang out with" holds any weight. I am a male, 25 years old, and my girlfriend, also female and 25 years old, have been dating for 5 years. I want to start by saying that she has never given me a real reason not to trust her, and we have always been very open with each other. However, I recently received some information through a friend that has made me a bit nervous, and I wanted some feedback on whether my concern is valid. My girlfriend has a group of 8 or 9 girls she is friends with from college, and they plan trips every now and then so they can all see each other. I don't know any of them really well, but out of those girls, I know for a fact that 5 of them, and possibly a 6th, are all in relationships, including my girlfriend. She has told me before that guys will always try to talk to them, and sometimes, she said, her single friends, foreshadowing here, will hook up with someone. This led to her explaining how this meant the other girls would end up getting stuck talking to the single guy's friends. Can you see where this is going? She made it seem like it was a big inconvenience, and all her friends would be annoyed about it. So, they just got back from the trip, and I heard the same story that I do every time she returns from these trips. However, I just found out yesterday that one of her friend's boyfriends discovered that his girlfriend cheated on him during this trip. He looked through her phone and found texts of her talking in a group chat with all these girls about the guy she was hooking up with, and she even said she was losing track of how many guys she kissed at the bar, among other things. I don't know him well, but from what I hear, he's a good guy, and they have been living together and dating for years. I saw the text through a mutual friend, and it honestly made me sick. Some of these other girls, who are even in relationships, were encouraging it, and one even said she was so proud. Proud of what? Then, when the girl who was found out said she got caught by her boyfriend looking through her phone, the way they completely turned everything around on him was shocking. They called him a psycho for looking through her phone, saying he must have some real issues, and that she did nothing wrong because she just kissed a few people and got some numbers. I was dying laughing after reading that last one. Not in a "this is hilarious" way, but because this girl is saying that and actually believes it is okay to do that in a relationship, especially since she is in one. Then, in an attempt, I guess, to minimize the gravity of what she did, she started telling this guy all the things her friends have done to their boyfriends. She said things like, "All I did was make out with this guy at the bar this one time. On the last ski trip, insert girl with boyfriend's name had sex with 2 different people," and things like that. She named 2 other girls, not my girlfriend, as having had sex with other people while they were dating their boyfriends over the last few years, and more or less said all the girls flirt with guys at the bars, and groups of guys always come back to their Airbnbs. This was news to me. I have not confronted my girlfriend about any of this information, and she has not offered it to me either. She's just going about business as usual, which is a bit scary to me, considering the crisis unfolding in her friend's relationship. My girlfriend was not named in any of this, and I didn't see any texts from her that were incriminating. That being said, realistically, how likely is it that out of all these girls who seem to actively encourage each other to do stuff like this, my girlfriend is the only one who was never influenced? I feel like cheaters only hang out with other cheaters as a way to justify their actions with a "well, everyone is doing it" approach. I understand she probably didn't want to tell me things to avoid making her friends look bad, but this is a massive red flag for me. I want to confront my girlfriend, but I'm not exactly sure how to do so without outright accusing her of cheating on me. I was thinking of trying to word it in a way that makes it seem like I already know everything to make her confess if she did anything. I'm not really sure what the best approach is. Any advice on how to navigate this would be appreciated. Update. Hi everyone. I wanted to start by saying thank you for all the support I received on my last post. I wish I had found this community earlier when I went through infidelity in my last relationship. I read through almost all of the replies, and to those who reached out on chat, I am sorry I did not respond. I'm not totally sure how that works and whether if I accepted it, I would get a virus or something. I'm not sure how to link the original post, but if anyone wants to see it, you can look at my post history, or if someone can link it in the comments below. Apologies if the update is long, but I want to get all the details in. There were a lot of suggestions to reach out to the boyfriend who discovered all of this initially. I thought the same thing, but I was a bit hesitant since he told this mutual friend in confidence, and I didn't want him to think I was going around airing out his dirty laundry. Regardless, I think it is best to hear the information from the source and not a third party, so I got his contact info and reached out yesterday. His story was eerily similar to mine, in the sense of what his girlfriend tells him when they get back from these trips, and how nothing else seems off. He told me he had just a gut feeling, and went through her phone while she was in the shower, What he did, which I thought was pretty genius, is he knew he didn't have a lot of time to go through her phone because, as he put it, it's attached to her at all times. He started a screen recording on her phone and just scrolled through everything, then sent it to himself so he could look through everything later. Once he saw what the messages said, he kicked his girlfriend out of the apartment and she went to her parents' place. She came back the next day apologizing. This is when she threw her friends under the bus. He said he wanted to see her phone again. She refused but eventually gave in, and she had deleted nothing. This is where he saw the messages and the screenshots of what I saw of her telling the girls how she got found out, and them telling her he was nuts and she did nothing wrong. There were other messages after that I didn't see of them all coming up with a cover story. Needless to say, he kicked her out, but he didn't go into much detail on the relationship status, and I didn't want to press him on that too much. When he went through her phone the second time, he was looking for more proof of what he found the first time, since they have multiple group chats, and for backup for her claims about her friends so he could tell everyone else. He did his screen recording thing again, and this time went through literally everything and had a recording of it all. No joke, it is over 30 minutes of just scrolling through messages, Snapchat, Instagram, and more. Well, he sent it to me in a few parts, and she was definitely not lying. There are tons of messages of them talking about it, videos of them dancing with guys at the bar, pictures of them with the guys at their Airbnbs, and more. Just irrefutable evidence, in my opinion. Now, the question is, how does this affect me? I went through everything he sent me multiple times. Two important things I noticed when going through everything. First, I was under the impression there was one main chat that these girls and my girlfriend all spoke in, but there were multiple, and my girlfriend and a few other girls are excluded from some of these. Although my girlfriend is still in some chats where these talks were happening, I didn't see any messages from her actively participating in these discussions. It seems like it is the same few girls who were always talking in these chats. However, I did see one picture of my girlfriend posing with some random guy at the bar. In a normal context, this picture would be a bit frustrating, but at the end of the day, we have a 5-year relationship where I am planning on marrying this girl. I'm not going to break up with her over a picture that really could be nothing. That being said, this is not a normal context, and my mind is all over the place on what this picture means. The picture is really the only evidence I have of anything inappropriate from my girlfriend directly, and it barely is evidence. There were some messages under the picture that I did not follow, as I think there were some kind of inside jokes, since they didn't really make sense. Unfortunately for me, I asked the boyfriend if he could ask the girl about my girlfriend directly, and he said that once he told her he was going to be telling all the other guys, she completely shut down and is denying anyone ever did anything wrong now or that she said anything. I am just at a loss and not sure what to do. My girlfriend is currently staying with her parents since she won't see them for Easter next weekend. I have been keeping up appearances, but it has been very taxing mentally to do so. I obviously will be having a conversation with her about it, but I think it needs to be done in person so I can actually get a read on her. I haven't spoken to anyone about it directly, as I'm honestly just totally embarrassed about it. But some family and friends are starting to notice that something is off. I just wanted to hear her side first. Sitting in my apartment, the silence feels heavier than usual. The TV is off, the dishes are done, and my phone sits on the coffee table, its screen dark. I've been staring at it for the past hour, debating whether to call Emily, my girlfriend, or wait until she's back from her parents' place. My mind is a tangle of doubt, fear, and a stubborn hope that this is all a misunderstanding. The evidence, the texts, the picture, the stories from her friend's boyfriend swirls in my head, but it's not enough to convict her. Not yet. I need to hear her voice, see her face, gauge her reaction when I ask about the trip. But the thought of that conversation terrifies me. What if she confirms my worst fears? What if she lies? I'm not sure which would hurt more. The past few days have been a mental marathon. Ever since I got those screen recordings from Jake, the boyfriend who uncovered his girlfriend's cheating, I've been dissecting every message, every photo, every video. I've watched the 30-minute scroll of their group chats more times than I care to admit, pausing on every frame, searching for Emily's name, her face, any sign that she's part of this mess. The chats are a cesspool of betrayal. Girls in relationships, bragging about hooking up with random guys, encouraging each other, laughing about their boyfriend's cluelessness. It's sickening, not just because of what they've done, but because Emily's in those chats, even if she's not the loudest voice. The picture of her with that guy at the bar keeps haunting me. It's just a snapshot, her smiling, her arm around some dude's shoulder, both of them holding drinks. In isolation, it's nothing. People pose for photos at bars all the time. But in the context of everything else, her friends cheating, the group's casual attitude toward infidelity, it feels like a red flag. The messages under the photo don't help. They're cryptic, full of emojis and inside jokes I don't understand. He's a keeper, one girl wrote. Tell me more, another chimed in. Emily didn't comment, but she was in the chat. She saw it. Did she laugh along? Did she know what was happening? My mind spins with possibilities, each one worse than the last. I've been trying to act normal, texting Emily like nothing's wrong, asking about her day, saying I miss her. She's been her usual self, sweet, chatty, sending me pictures of her parents' dog, but every message feels like a performance now, on both our parts. I'm hiding my suspicion, and she's… What? Hiding her guilt? Or is she innocent, oblivious to the storm brewing? I hate that I don't know. I hate that I'm questioning everything about the woman I've loved for 5 years, the one I've planned a future with, the one I've trusted with my heart. I decide to wait until she's back in town to talk. A phone call won't cut it. I need to see her eyes, her body language, the way she reacts when I bring up the trip. I've been reading online about how to confront a partner about possible infidelity. Some forums suggest playing dumb, asking open-ended questions to see what they volunteer. Others say to lay out the evidence, force them to explain. I'm leaning toward a mix of both. Start gentle, give her a chance to come clean, then show her the picture and ask for the truth. I've got the screen recordings saved on my laptop, but I don't want to use them unless I have to. They feel like a nuclear option, too raw, too invasive. Plus, I'm not sure I could handle seeing her lie while I'm holding proof. In the meantime, I'm trying to keep myself together. Work is a distraction, but not a great one. I'm a graphic designer, and my current project, a branding campaign for a local startup, requires focus I don't have. I keep zoning out, my thoughts drifting to Emily, the bar, that guy. My coworkers have noticed I'm off, asking if I'm okay. I brush them off with vague excuses. Didn't sleep well, got a lot on my mind. My best friend Ryan isn't so easy to fool. He came over last night with beers, and I almost told him everything. But I stopped myself. I'm too embarrassed, too afraid of what he'll think if it turns out Emily's guilty. I need to know the truth before I let anyone else in. I've been thinking a lot about her friends, too. The cliché "you are who you hang out with" is what started this whole spiral, and the more I learn, the more it rings true. These girls aren't just bystanders. They're enablers, cheering each other on, normalizing betrayal. The fact that Emily stayed close with them, even after knowing what they've done, bothers me. She's always described them as fun, loyal, the kind of friends who drop everything to help her. But now I wonder if that loyalty extends to covering up each other's secrets. Did she know about their cheating before this trip? Has she been protecting them? Or worse, has she been part of it? I hate that I'm even asking these questions, but the evidence is hard to ignore. I try to piece together what I know about her friends. There's Lauren, the one who got caught, who seems to be the ringleader of the cheating. She's the loudest in the chats, bragging about her conquests, dismissing her boyfriend's anger as psycho. Then there's Megan and Sarah, the two named as having slept with guys on past trips. They're in relationships too, and their boyfriends probably have no idea. The others are a blur. Single girls who hook up freely, and a couple of others in relationships who seem quieter but still complicit. Emily's somewhere in the middle, not named in the worst of it, but not innocent either. She's been on these trips, stayed in the Airbnbs, gone to the bars. She's seen the guys come back, heard the stories. How could she not be influenced? I keep coming back to her stories about the trips. Every time she comes back, it's the same script. The single girls hook up, the rest get stuck talking to random guys. It's all a big annoyance. She's always framed it as something she tolerates, not enjoys. But now I wonder if that's the whole truth. Was she downplaying it to keep me from worrying? Or was she hiding something more? The picture suggests she's not as detached as she claims. I try to remember if she's ever acted differently after a trip. Distant, secretive, overly affectionate. Nothing stands out, but that doesn't mean much. If she's been hiding something, she's been good at it. I decide to do something proactive, to take back some control. I start journaling, writing down everything I know, everything I feel. It's messy, anger at her friends, fear of losing her, guilt for doubting her. But it helps, putting it on paper, making it real. I also make a list of questions for our conversation. What happened on the trip? Who was the guy in the photo? Did you know about your friends cheating? Why didn't you tell me? I'm not sure how many I'll ask, but having them ready calms me, gives me a plan. I also reach out to Jake again, thanking him for the recordings and asking if he's heard anything new. He says Lauren's still at her parents', denying everything, but her boyfriend's done with her. He's planning to warn the other guys, which could blow this whole thing wide open. I ask him to let me know if he hears anything about Emily, but I'm not holding my breath. Lauren's clammed up, and the other girls are circling the wagons, coming up with cover stories. It's frustrating, but it's also a reminder that I can't rely on them for the truth. That has to come from Emily. The waiting is the hardest part. Emily's back tomorrow, and I'm dreading the conversation, but I'm also ready. I've spent too long in this limbo, caught between trust and suspicion. I need answers, even if they hurt. I've been reading more online, not just forums, but articles about trust and infidelity. One piece talked about radical honesty, how couples can rebuild after betrayal by being completely transparent. I want that with Emily, but first, I need to know if she's capable of it. If she's been cheating, I don't know if I can stay. If she's been hiding her friends' secrets, that's a different kind of betrayal, but it's still a problem. Either way, things can't go back to how they were. I try to distract myself with routine. I go to work, force myself to focus on the branding campaign. I meet Ryan for lunch, and this time, I tell him a little. Not the full story, but enough to admit I'm worried about Emily. He's supportive, says he's got my back no matter what. It feels good to let someone in, even a little. I also start running again, something I used to do in college but dropped when life got busy. The rhythm of my feet on the pavement, the burn in my lungs, it's a release, a way to quiet the noise in my head. The night before Emily comes back, I can't sleep. I lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, rehearsing what I'll say. I imagine her reactions, tears, anger, denial, maybe even a confession. I try to prepare for every scenario, but I know I can't. This isn't a script, it's our life. I get up, make tea, and sit on the couch, scrolling through old photos of us. Trips to the beach, her graduation, the time we got stuck in the rain and laughed until we couldn't breathe. I love her, and that's what makes this so hard. But I love myself too, and I deserve the truth. She arrives the next afternoon, her suitcase in tow, her smile bright. "Missed you," she says, hugging me. I hug her back, but it feels hollow. We make small talk, her parents, the drive, the weather. I wait until we're settled on the couch, her legs tucked under her, a glass of wine in her hand. "We need to talk," I say, my voice steadier than I feel. Her smile fades and she nods like she's been expecting this. I start gentle, asking about the trip, how it went. She gives me the usual story. Fun, chaotic, the single girls hooking up. I nod, then mention Jake's girlfriend Lauren, how her boyfriend found out she cheated. Emily's face tightens, but she doesn't interrupt. "I saw some of the texts," I say, watching her closely, from their group chat. "They were talking about cheating, encouraging it. Did you know about that?" She looks down, her fingers twisting the stem of her wine glass. "I knew Lauren was wild," she says, "but I didn't know the details until after." I press, asking about the other girls, the ones named as cheaters. She admits she's heard rumors, but swears she didn't know for sure. "They don't tell me everything," she says, her voice defensive. I show her the picture, the one with the guy at the bar. "Who's this?" I ask. She hesitates, then says he was just some guy they met, that it was nothing, just a photo. "Why didn't you tell me about this stuff?" I ask. "The guys at the Airbnbs, the flirting, all of it?" She sighs, says she didn't want to worry me, that it wasn't her story to tell. I'm not satisfied, but I don't push harder, not yet. I tell her I need time to think, that I'm struggling to trust her. She tears up, says she's sorry, that she loves me, that she's never cheated. I want to believe her, but I'm not sure I do. We agree to talk more tomorrow, and she goes to bed, leaving me on the couch, my mind racing. The next few days are tense. We're polite, but there's a distance between us. I keep digging, not just into the recordings, but into my own feelings. I realize I'm angry, not just at her, but at myself for ignoring the red flags, for trusting her friends by extension. I talk to Ryan, finally telling him everything. He's pissed on my behalf, but he also says I need to decide what I want. "If she's telling the truth, can you move past this?" he asks. "And if she's lying, can you stay?" I don't have answers, but his questions help me focus. I also reach out to a therapist, booking a session for next week. I need an outside perspective, someone who can help me navigate this mess. In the meantime, Emily and I keep talking, slowly peeling back layers. She admits she's been uncomfortable with her friend's behavior for a while, but didn't know how to distance herself without losing them. She swears she's never crossed a line, that the photo was just a moment, not a betrayal. I'm starting to believe her, but trust is fragile, and we've got work to do. We decide to try couples counseling too. It's a big step, but I want to give us a chance. I love her, and I think she loves me, but we need to rebuild from the ground up. I set boundaries. No more trips with those friends, full transparency with her phone and social media. She agrees, though I can tell it's hard for her. I'm trying to meet her halfway, to balance my need for security with her need for autonomy. The weeks turn into months, and we settle into a new rhythm. Counseling is tough but illuminating. We talk about trust, communication, the kind of future we want. Emily cuts ties with Lauren and the worst of the group, keeping only a couple of friends who seem genuinely decent. I'm still wary, but I see her trying, and it means something. The picture still stings, but I'm learning to let it go, to focus on what we're building now. I'm also working on myself. Therapy's helping me unpack my fears, my tendency to catastrophize. I'm running more, designing again, even sketching ideas for a graphic novel I've always wanted to create. Ryan and I plan a camping trip, just the guys, and it feels good to reconnect with him, to laugh without the weight of this drama. Emily and I aren't perfect, but we're trying. We go on dates, rediscover the things we love about each other. Her laugh, her curiosity, the way she challenges me to be better. There are moments when I still doubt, when I wonder if I'll ever fully trust again. But then she'll reach for my hand, or we'll stay up late talking about nothing, and I feel a spark of hope. We're not the same couple we were, but maybe that's okay. Maybe we're becoming something stronger. One night, a few months later, we're on the couch, watching a movie, her head on my shoulder. The cats we've been talking about adopting are curled up nearby, a new addition to our life. I look at her, really look, and see the woman I love, flaws and all. The fear is still there, but it's quieter now, overshadowed by possibility. I don't know what the future holds. But for the first time in a long time, I'm ready to find out. Move to next story. My ex-fiancée cheated on me, and I reported her to the IRS. Nothing could have prepared me for the events that followed my ex-fiancée cheating on me. We had a great relationship. We had already moved in together, and we were making wedding plans. Leah and I met and started dating in high school. We broke up when we had to go to different colleges, but we always somehow found ourselves hooking up whenever we were home for the holidays. It wasn't anything serious, but there was the knowledge that we still both had feelings for each other. I wasn't willing to commit, and she wasn't willing to commit either. We were both enjoying whatever it was that we had then. But then I met Sabrina, who's a very important part of the story. Sabrina was hot and extremely intelligent. We had a few classes together on campus, and I ran into her at the mall during one spring break. Leah had gone off on a road trip with her friends, and I was alone. Somehow, I started seeing Sabrina a lot, and before I knew it, we were having sex. Sabrina knew of my relationship with Leah and wasn't complaining, but I knew I wanted to be in a fully committed relationship with her. So, I waited until Leah got back from her trip to tell her that I was going to stop seeing her. Leah was seeing some guy she met on the trip too, so it all worked out well. I asked Sabrina to be my girlfriend, and she said yes. I was happy. However, things weren't going so well on Leah's end. We still kept in touch because we were friends, and I told Sabrina everything, so it wasn't like I had anything to hide. Leah was calling and texting, telling me how her new guy wasn't good for anything, and she was feeling stuck in the relationship. So, she wanted out. I told her to do what she knew was best for her, thinking that would be the end of it. She told me that she had broken up with him because she caught him cheating on her. I supported her decision and told her that if she needed anything, she could count on me. It was something I came to regret because she would call me and show up at my house at weird times, even when I was in college. There was a particular night she showed up at my dorm after driving almost 4 hours through the night. I innocently thought that it was because she was having a hard time, so I let her sleep in my bed and went to crash in my friend's bed. She left 2 days later. I later overheard some of my dorm mates bragging that they had slept with her, but I didn't pay them any attention because it was none of my business. But Leah continued doing things like calling and showing up randomly until Sabrina complained that she wasn't comfortable with her doing all that. I agreed with Sabrina, but I told her I thought it was probably because Leah still had feelings for me. I called Leah up and told her that it was best if we ended things. She was hurt, and she said she understood. So, I went back to Sabrina, and our relationship became much better after that. We stopped talking after that, and Sabrina and I graduated college. Sabrina was a computer programmer and was really into video games, just like me. We thought of ideas and messed around with creating our own games. It was usually fun for us. We created a video game that surprisingly went viral, and we were able to sell it to a major gaming company for a lot of money. The money wasn't enough to buy luxurious cars or flex big time, but it was enough to live comfortably. It helped that I got a job at a top Silicon Valley company with nice pay and great benefits. The job eventually caused a split between Sabrina and me because I wasn't spending as much time with her. When she also got a job at a company with a fast-paced environment like mine, we barely saw each other. It was an amicable split, and when we both weren't busy, we would hang out. I decided to go home for Thanksgiving so I could see my parents after a while. It was there I met Leah again. It started innocently. I would run into her at the store, and we would have a chat. She had moved back home after college and worked at a local company. We had dinner once before I went back to California. It was fun catching up with her, and I promised to keep in touch. After I returned, we still continued to talk. We exchanged lots of texts and calls. I developed feelings for her again, but I wasn't sure if she felt the same way, so I didn't act on it. 6 months later, she found a new job in California and moved there. It was only natural that we began to spend more time together. We started going on dates, and she told me she still had feelings for me. I admitted that I felt the same way, and then we started dating again. On our 6-month anniversary, I asked her to move in with me. Because of the nature of my job, I spent a lot of time at work, but I was able to work from home occasionally. I wasn't seeing her a lot, even the times I worked from home, despite the fact that we were living together. I tried my best to make things work, but I was so busy we had an argument where she told me I was too focused on my job and wasn't paying any attention to her. Well, I told her that if she put as much effort as I did into her work, she would be made an executive in no time. It was our first fight. I apologized afterward and made amends. Somehow, I got a promotion at work that meant I wouldn't be spending so much time at work again. She took my words to heart, and she started focusing more on her work. It was great. Because I was in a fully committed relationship with her, I wasn't talking to Sabrina as much again. But Sabrina got a job where I worked, and we became colleagues. She understood boundaries, and we always made sure not to cross the line. I told Leah that I was working with Sabrina, and she said she had no issues with it. Then she started complaining about how her boss didn't want to give her a promotion, despite how hard she had worked for it. I told her to talk to him, and she said she was going to. Somehow, after that, she started spending more time at work. She would return late in the evening and was always going on work trips. When I talked to her, she told me it was because she talked with her boss, and he told her he just wanted her to work harder. The reason was solid, so I had no reason to distrust her. Soon after, she got promoted at work. I was really happy for her, and I even took her out for dinner. I forgot to add that I was the one taking care of all her expenses. We weren't sharing expenses because I'm a traditional man, and I believe that it is a man's duty to take care of his woman. I also knew that her family was going through tough times, and she was responsible for taking care of their expenses. I would send her allowances every month to do whatever she wanted to do, and to get groceries for the house. She was free to spend her salary on whatever she wanted, but she mostly told me that she was sending it home. I didn't mind at all. After her promotion, she began spending more time at work to the extent that it was like we were having a long-distance relationship. I told her she was prioritizing her work over us, and she promised to find a solution. She began spending more time with me. Then her boss got promoted at her work and was transferred to Boston. She got his old position, and I noticed that she started traveling even more. I was left to my own devices most of the time. Sabrina would come around to say hi a few times. After I told Leah about Sabrina's visits, she exploded, telling me that I was spending too much time with Sabrina, and it was starting to get suspicious. She even went to the extent of calling and threatening Sabrina to stay away from me, even though I told her there was nothing going on between us. I cut off ties with Sabrina, which hurt because she was a really great friend who I had been through a lot with. Then Leah came to tell me that a position opened in the Boston branch of her company, and she wanted to take it because that was the headquarters of the company, and it was easier to climb up the corporate ladder there. She wanted to take the position and have me move there with her. I saw the effort she had been making to become a top executive, and I didn't want to stand in the way of her career, but I didn't want to have to move to Boston when I had a perfectly okay job in California. She accused me of being selfish and trying to make her completely dependent on me, so that I could freely cheat on her with Sabrina, with the excuse that we were working together. It caused a huge fight between the two of us, but I loved her too much to let the fight go on for too long. I was being headhunted by a company in Boston, so I took the position. It didn't matter that I was just 6 months from the evaluation that would have gotten me another major promotion. I reasoned that it wasn't like I really needed the money. So we moved to Boston, and I got used to living there. The work environment wasn't as fast-paced, so I had free time, but Leah, on the other hand, became busier. She was traveling a lot more, and they gave her a position where she had to be working with her old boss. I wasn't suspicious because he was married with kids, and he seemed devoted to them. But they grew closer, and I started feeling uncomfortable. They were spending so much time together at work. When I talked to her about it, she told me I was just overthinking things, and they just had a great working relationship. At this point, I was getting suspicious, but there was nothing I could do. I just waited, thinking that if something were really going on, I would gather evidence first. I started by trying to get access to her phone. Leah was always on her phone. She even took it with her everywhere, so there was no way I could get access to it. I decided to leave it because it was too much of a hassle, and frankly speaking, I knew her boss had nothing on me. I was quite the catch. But the next month, something happened that made me start doubting her again. Leah and I had synced our Fitbit accounts so we could be accountable to each other. Due to the nature of my job, I lived a sedentary lifestyle, and I'd like to walk around to keep fit. Seeing the other person's step count often motivated both of us whenever we were feeling too lazy. One morning, while I was checking the account, it showed that Leah had walked a considerable distance the night before she had come back home while I was asleep, so I wondered where she was walking to. When I asked her why she had come back late, I asked her without talking about the Fitbit. She told me it was because she had a meeting and was stuck in the office trying to finish her work. I then asked her about the Fitbit, and the shocked look on her face made me even more suspicious. I guess she had forgotten all about the watch when she went on a walk. She told me that she had taken a long walk to clear her head and had returned to the office afterward. I could smell the nonsense. I let it go because I didn't want her to be as suspicious. The next day, she went on a trip out of town. I called her office to see if her boss was in, and I was told they were both out. Leah had gone on the trip with her boss, and she hadn't told me. She told me she was going on a work trip to Las Vegas, but her assistant told me it was a work trip to Manhattan. I knew that it definitely wasn't a work trip like she had claimed. I decided to get even more concrete proof. I spent the weekend, and days my work productivity declined, and my supervisor noticed. I decided to take a short leave stating that I was ill. My leave was granted. As if things couldn't get worse, I got a call from a random number while I was sleeping the day before she arrived. It was a hysterical woman telling me to handle my woman and keep her away from her boyfriend. She spat out all kinds of vitriol before I got her calm enough to talk clearly. Apparently, she found texts between my ex and her boyfriend where they were sexting and exchanging nudes. Leah had also been buying him stuff, and that was how she got suspicious enough to go to her boyfriend's phone. I was crushed. It was bad enough that she had lied and gone on a trip with her boss for their rendezvous, but apparently there was more than one guy. I wondered who all the other men were. I knew it wasn't healthy, but I just had to know everything. Who she was cheating with, where and when it happened. Everything. When she got back from her trip, she could tell something was wrong, but I told her it was nothing for her to worry about. She fussed over me a bit and told me that she was going to give me a treat. She dropped her bag and went into the kitchen to cook. I decided to go through her bag to see if her phone was there. I entered her password and got in. I went to her frequently used app, which was Instagram. It was a revelation. Her DMs were filled with various messages from different guys. The messages were mostly raunchy, and they were from guys who were younger and didn't really have anything going on in their lives. I discovered that she had been giving some of these guys money in exchange for sex. I wasn't deficient in the bedroom department. My size is above average, and I actually know where the clitoris is. I didn't have time to go through her phone comfortably, so I installed spyware so I could check at leisure later. I returned her phone to her bag and left the house because I couldn't stand to see her. I went to a hotel where I lodged for the night. There was no way I was going to go back to the house while she was still there. I drank a bit and texted a work colleague I was pretty sure liked me. When the work colleague came over, we messed around for a bit, but my mind wasn't in it. Even though Leah had cheated on me, I didn't want to do the same thing and give her the justification for her actions. I apologized to my work colleague, and she left. I stopped drinking and started thinking of what to do. I had sacrificed a friend, a job I liked, and money for someone who had continued to lie to me for years. I went through the apps on her phone because of the spyware and discovered that she wasn't only giving guys money. She had been sleeping with her boss at work for money and work bonuses. That was how she had gotten promoted and why she had wanted us to move to Boston, so she could be closer to her boss. Their relationship had started right from when we were in California and hadn't stopped, even when his wife discovered and asked them to end it. That was why the boss had moved to Boston in the first place, so he could save his marriage. Then I found out that her family hadn't been through any financial crisis, and she wasn't responsible for them like she had claimed. The fun part was discovering that most of their work trips hadn't been for work at all, and they had been charging their trips to the company's expense book. It created a way for me to take my revenge. I went back home the next day and gave her an excuse that I had left the day before because of a work emergency. I applied to my old place of work, and luckily for me, they had a position for me. I sent my 2-week notice to my workplace and accepted the job offer. When we moved to Boston, I bought the house that we were living in, and I kept it in my name because a friend had advised me not to include Leah's name. When she went on another of her work trips, I moved out and put the house on the market. I then sent all her stuff to her workplace, along with the screenshots of the conversations between her and her boss. Not only were they engaging in a non-ethical sexual relationship which was against the work rules, but they were also stealing from the company. After I did that, I reported their theft to the IRS and sent them copies of the screenshots that I made. Then I went back to California. I changed my phone lines and deactivated my social media. I waited until I started up my new job before reaching out to my parents so they weren't worried. They told me she had gone crazy looking for me, but I told them that I never wanted to talk to her ever again while I called her a few choice words. It hadn't been my intention to let my parents know what went down, and I tried to spare them. They told me they would not allow her to talk to me again. Update: so, Leah somehow managed to get my number from my sister and reached out to me. She started pleading and begging that I take her back, that she had changed. I told her that I felt nothing for her and that I couldn't take her back with everything that she had done to me. I told her that if she ever called me again, I would report her to the police for harassment, and I would get a restraining order. I then told her that it was in her best interest to stay completely far away from me because I still had screenshots of everything that went down, and I would disgrace her by showing it to her entire family if she disturbed me again. Her family was pretty conservative, and they wouldn't have stood for all the rubbish she did. Update 2. I called and challenged my sister as to why she had given Leah my number even after I asked her not to. My sister told me she had felt pity for her because it seemed like she was going through a lot of trouble. Apparently, she had lost her job, and she was charged with theft and misappropriation of funds. Her former boss had pulled some strings to get himself out of the mess, and she was left hanging. Then she owed the IRS a huge amount of money because they had smacked her with a huge fine. So basically, she was in deep trouble, and that was why she had come to meet me, to see if I was dumb enough to help fix her problems. It was a great thing that I had instantly cleared her out because if I hadn't, she would have tried to extort money from me. The last I heard, her family was trying to raise the money to hire a lawyer for her. I don't feel guilty for doing what I did. If I had to, I'd do it over again. The decision to report Leah to the IRS, to send those damning screenshots to her workplace, to cut her out of my life with surgical precision, it was the right call. Not because I'm cruel, but because it was the only way to reclaim my life from the web of lies she'd spun around me. 2 years later, sitting in my new apartment in California, with a steady job and a clearer head, I don't regret a single step. Leah's betrayal wasn't just a personal wound. It was a calculated dismantling of everything I'd built, my trust, my career, my sense of self. Reporting her was my way of saying no more, and I'd say it again in a heartbeat. The aftermath of that decision was a whirlwind, but it shaped me into someone stronger, wiser, and fiercely protective of my own peace. When I first got back to California, I was a mess, even if I didn't show it. The adrenaline of revenge had kept me going, packing up the house, selling it, changing my number, ghosting Leah entirely. But once the dust settled, the weight of her betrayal hit me hard. I'd given up a promotion, a friend in Sabrina, and years of my life for someone who'd been playing me from the start. Late at night, alone in my new place, I'd replay every moment of our relationship, searching for the signs I'd missed. The late-night work trips, the sudden ambition that conveniently aligned with her boss's transfer, the way she'd turned my concern into accusations of jealousy. It wasn't just the cheating, it was the scale of her deception. Multiple men, fake family crises, stolen company funds. She'd built a double life, and I'd been the fool bankrolling it. But I didn't stay in that dark place long. I had a new job to focus on, one that challenged me without consuming me. My old company welcomed me back with open arms, and I threw myself into the work, rediscovering the passion for coding that had fueled my early career. The slower pace of my Boston job had dulled my edge, but California reignited it. I was leading projects again, mentoring younger engineers, feeling like the man I'd been before Leah's chaos derailed me. Work became my anchor, a reminder that I was more than the guy who'd been cheated on. I was good at something, damn good, and no one could take that away. Reconnecting with my family was another lifeline. My parents, bless them, kept Leah at arm's length after I told them the truth, or at least the parts I could stomach sharing. They didn't need to know about the sexts or the money she'd funneled to her lovers. They just needed to know she'd hurt me. My mom, ever the protector, made it her mission to keep me fed and grounded, inviting me over for Sunday dinners where we'd talk about everything but Leah. My dad, quieter but no less supportive, took me fishing, something we hadn't done since I was a kid. Those moments, casting lines into the Pacific, the silence broken only by the waves, helped me heal. They reminded me I had roots, people who loved me, a life worth living. My sister, though, was a different story. After I confronted her for giving Leah my number, she apologized profusely, tears in her eyes. She hadn't known the full extent of Leah's betrayal, only that she'd shown up looking desperate, claiming she'd lost everything. I forgave my sister, but I made it clear, no more leaks, no more pity for Leah. I needed boundaries, and I was learning to enforce them. That conversation was a turning point, not just with her but with everyone. I started saying no to late-night work requests, to friends who drained me, to the guilt that crept in when I thought about Leah's downfall. I wasn't responsible for her mess. She'd made her choices and I'd made mine. The news about Leah's troubles trickled in through my sister before I cut off that pipeline. Losing her job was just the start. The company didn't just fire her, they pressed charges for theft and misappropriation of funds, thanks to the screenshots I'd sent. Her boss, the married sleaze who'd been her primary affair partner, slithered out of the scandal with some well-placed connections, leaving Leah to take the fall. The IRS didn't mess around either. They hit her with a fine so steep her conservative family was scrambling to fund her legal defense. Part of me, the part that remembered her laughing in my arms planning our wedding, felt a pang of pity. but it was fleeting. She'd lied about her family's financial woes to siphon my money, used me to climb the corporate ladder, and cheated with not just her boss but a string of random guys. Pity didn't stand a chance against the truth. I didn't gloat, though. I could have, God knows I wanted to, when I heard she was couch surfing with a cousin, her dreams of corporate glory in tatters. But gloating would have meant letting her live rent-free in my head, and I was done with that. Instead, I focused on rebuilding. I moved into a sleek one-bedroom in San Francisco, with a view of the bay that made every sunrise feel like a fresh start. I furnished it from scratch, no trace of the life I'd shared with Leah. New couch, new bed, new memories. I hung art from local galleries, photos of my parents and me fishing, a framed poster from the game Sabrina and I had sold. It was my space, my sanctuary, and it felt like home. Dating was the last thing on my mind, but life had other plans. 6 months after moving back, I met Natalie at a tech conference. She was a data scientist, sharp as a tack, with a dry sense of humor that caught me off guard. We bonded over a panel on AI ethics, debating the finer points over coffee afterward. She was nothing like Leah. Where Leah was all charm and calculated vulnerability, Natalie was direct, unapologetic, fiercely independent. She'd been through her own rough breakup, a long-term relationship that ended when her partner ghosted her for a job abroad. We took it slow, both cautious, both scarred, but every date felt like a step towards something real. By the time we hit our 3-month mark, I knew I was falling for her. Natalie's presence in my life has been a game changer. She's not just a partner, she's a mirror, reflecting back the parts of myself I'd forgotten. My curiosity, my playfulness, my ability to love without fear. We spend weekends exploring the city, hitting up food trucks, or coding side projects just for fun. She's got a knack for turning mundane moments into adventures, like the time we got lost on a hike and ended up stargazing in a random field, laughing until our sides hurt. With her, I don't feel like I'm auditioning for love. I feel seen, valued, enough. It's a stark contrast to the constant unease I felt with Leah, always wondering when the next lie would drop. I've been open with Natalie about my past, including the IRS report and the fallout. She didn't flinch. "You did what you had to do," she said, her voice steady. She made her bed. Her support gave me permission to let go of the lingering guilt. The part of me that wondered if I'd gone too far, I hadn't. Leah's actions had consequences, and I was just the messenger. Natalie's perspective, clear-eyed, no nonsense, has helped me reframe the whole ordeal. It wasn't about revenge, it was about justice, about protecting myself from someone who'd used me without remorse. Reconnecting with Sabrina was another step toward healing. After Leah's accusations drove a wedge between us, I'd kept my distance, not wanting to stir up drama. But last year, at a company happy hour, we ran into each other. She was still the same Sabrina. Witty, brilliant, a little guarded but warm once you got past it. We caught up over drinks and I apologized for letting Leah's jealousy ruin our friendship. She waved it off, said she'd understood, but I could tell it had hurt. We've been rebuilding since then, grabbing coffee or collaborating on small coding projects. She's dating someone now, a graphic designer, who seems like a good fit, and I'm happy for her. Having her back in my life, even as a friend, feels like reclaiming a piece of myself Leah tried to steal. My parents and sister have been my cheerleaders through it all. My mom, in particular, has taken to Natalie, inviting her to family dinners and not so subtly hinting about grandkids. I laugh it off, but it's nice to see my family embrace someone new, to know they trust my judgment after the Leah debacle. My sister, still remorseful about the phone number slip, has become my biggest advocate, checking in weekly to make sure I'm okay. She's even offered to fly out and help me decorate my apartment, though I suspect it's an excuse to snoop on my new life. I'm grateful for them, for the way they've held me up when I couldn't stand on my own. Work has been a steady climb. The job I took back in California came with a promotion last month, a nod to the late nights and innovative solutions I've brought to the table. I'm not chasing titles anymore, though. I've learned balance, thanks to Natalie's influence and my own hard-won lessons. I leave the office at a reasonable hour, make time for hikes, game nights, or just binge-watching sci-fi with Natalie. I'm not the workaholic I was with Leah, sacrificing everything for a paycheck. I'm living for me now, and it feels good. I've thought about what I'd say if I ever saw Leah again, though I hope that day never comes. Her last attempt to reach me, begging for a second chance, was a pathetic grab for salvation, not love. She wasn't sorry, she was scared, facing the consequences of her choices. Jobless, fined, ostracized by her family. I don't wish her harm, but I don't wish her well either. She's a chapter I've closed, a lesson I've learned. If I had to face her, I'd keep it simple. You broke my trust and I built a better life without you. Stay away. No anger, no tears, just truth. The scars are still there, but they're fading. I don't flinch at the thought of commitment anymore. Don't scan Natalie's phone for secrets. I trust her, not because she's perfect, but because she's shown me who she is. Flaws, strengths, all of it. I've learned to trust myself too, to listen to my gut when something feels off, to walk away when someone doesn't deserve my loyalty. Leah taught me that, in the cruelest way possible, but I'm grateful for the lesson. It's made me a better partner, a better friend, a better man. I've started dreaming about the future again, something I couldn't do in the shadow of Leah's betrayal. Natalie and I talk about traveling, Japan, Iceland, maybe a road trip through the Southwest. We've tossed around ideas for another game, just for fun, no pressure to sell. I think about proposing someday, not soon, but when the moment's right. Not with a ring tainted by the past, but with something new, something ours. My daughters, if I ever have them, will hear this story. Not the gritty details, but the moral: love yourself enough to walk away from what hurts you. For now, I'm savoring the present. Natalie's asleep on my couch as I write this, her laptop open to a half-finished analysis, a glass of wine forgotten on the table. My phone's buzzing with texts from Sabrina, planning a group hike next weekend. My parents are coming over tomorrow, bringing my mom's famous lasagna. This is my life now. Full, messy, mine. I do it over again, not because I enjoyed the pain, but because it led me here. To a home I love, a woman I trust, a future I can't wait to live. Leah's in the rear view, and I'm not looking back.